Cindee, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out. I appreciate it.
I am so excited to talk with you today, Joe. It's going
It's
to
a
be fun.
pleasure. Absolutely. So let's begin our journey here with we are officially coming up on the 5-year anniversary of the pandemic. And I've been wanting to put this question to rest, but it's been such a big part of our lives. How much of living and changing and adapting to that very weird time period has reverberated into your work and what you do today?
I think it's a great question that you should just keep asking and asking
Okay,
because
good.
we're all going to have just such a unique answer to that because it
Yeah.
did change us all in one way or another. In 2020, I was 2 years into my real estate license, so really just kind of getting into the flow, and then everything stopped, and it was scary. And I really had a choice to make whether, okay, I'm going to come inside, not know what to do, give into fear, or I'm going to go out. I saw so many small business owners hurting. We've been business owners for over 30 years. And I just made a decision that I'm going out. I'm going to go out and see what I can do to help others. And I instituted a challenge to myself called the 52 Coffees Challenge that I would never have done had it not been for COVID. And that was, I'm just going to take one woman business owner out to coffee every single week that I didn't know,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to hear her story and how I could add value to her life. And I just started doing that. And pretty soon it wasn't one copy a week, it was 3 to 5. And it launched my coaching journey. So I discovered that I just love helping women, helping business owners, helping them grow. So I continued with my real estate a couple more years, but the pandemic was definitely a stake in the ground for
Okay,
me.
so let's get into exactly what you do right now. To do that, the best way to do it is to put you in front of a bunch of kids at career day. They're 10 or 11 years old, and one of the
Right.
kids is curious in the back of the room and is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you
Yeah.
answer it?
Yeah, that's a great question because I was a fifth grade teacher. So I'm
Okay.
I'm actually picturing that 10-year-old inquisitive boy right now, or child. But I would start with this. Put your hands out in front of you and look at your hands. Whatever you have to do is in your hands right now. Think of your greatest moment. What does your greatest moment look to you at 10 years old? And we might be envisioning success at the top of the mountain, but when I envision what's in my hand, it starts at the very bottom. It starts at that moment of failure. It starts at a moment of humiliation, of, fear, or whatever it is, when we just kind of rise up from that moment and say, okay, this is it. I'm going to take the challenge, I'm going to do with it. So I would do something with it. And so I would tell that 10-year-old, what does that moment look like to you? And
Yeah.
that's what I do for women who are entering into what I call the empty nest season of life, or entering into midlife. We've just been transitioned into a completely new time zone, with all the pauses going on. What does it look like for you now? So I am a business life coach, and I help women just really navigate that season of their life, help them become entrepreneurs, help them become leaders of organizations, and all that.
So when you were looking in your hands in the fifth grade and wondering what you were going to grab onto, what your life was going to be, what was your dream? What did you want to be?
Well, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I married into a family of entrepreneurs. There was no W-2 job. That just wasn't in the cards. So I always envisioned myself as a businesswoman, and not because of not running a business, but because I just loved the suits and the clickety clack of the high heels.
Yep.
All the things a 10-year-old girl would, be excited about. That was my vision at 10 years old. And I actually started college going into the business program, and I ended up being a teacher because
Okay.
I loved teaching. I still do. I just teach women,
Okay.
not 10-year-olds.
So what was kind of the career arc? How, so you went from business, then you went to teaching, back to business, and now coaching. How did all that kind of, what were the signposts that made you change and evolve into this position you're in now?
Yeah, well, in all humility, in freshman year in college, my very first semester, I'm going to be a business major, and I got a U in macroeconomics. I mean, my grade was so low that it wasn't an A to F, right? I was like, I was so confused in economics. I'm a big picture thinker and I love to write. I'm a creative. And so I'm like, oh goodness, maybe this math business stuff is not for me. So I made a pivotal change at that point. I wish now that I would have kept going because I'm a lot smarter now than I thought I was back then.
Sure.
But that's the pivot point for me is just at 18 years old going, I think I'll go into teaching.
Yeah. So when you look at your career, to do well, to evolve and to achieve, you have to risk. What's the
Yeah.
biggest risk that you've taken in your career so far?
I think, like I said, we've been business owners for over 3 decades. My husband and I had a service industry business. I went into real estate as a newly minted empty nest mom, and that wasn't so much of a risk. The risk was when I said, I just established this real estate business. I'm in the flow, I'm paying for our daughter's education, but I really love helping women.
Yeah.
I really love this. Like that is filling my heart. I really feel like that's my calling, my purpose. And it was to jump away from something that was successful and move into something that was a fresh start, that was felt like ground zero. But I feel like we're never at ground zero, especially as we age. We feel like, oh, well, maybe I'm lacking going into this. But we're not lacking. We've been stacking experiences our entire life. So really moving into that space, into the coaching space was just a natural fit. But it felt like a huge just leap of faith.
In the last couple of years, we've kind of seen, you know, we're living in strange times, and women have seen access to healthcare and other things just get totally repealed. Levels of decades of advancement that have gone back to places that are very strange. How much of what you're doing right now is a part of that whole addressing these things that are going on to keep women strong, to keep them moving forward? So hopefully more things don't fall to the wayside or more things can be added that are beneficial.
There's always going to be things.
Yeah.
There's always going to be challenges. No matter you go back every 100 years, there's always going to be challenges. So what I like to think of, and this is really from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey, is stop being reactionary.
Yeah.
Start with leading your own life first. You have to build the leader within you. You have to be strong within you so that you can withstand anything that comes at you.
Yeah.
And my whole premise in coaching is that I want to build up women leaders. I don't want to develop followers. I don't want people to follow me. I want to build you up from the inside out so that you can go out and, build your leaders. And so we really have to develop that inner strength and have that intentionality in our lives so that when things come at us, we're strong. We
Yeah.
know where we stand, we know who we are, we know who we serve, we know why we do it, and we're ready to go out and change the world as we see it. I call it being an impact maker. Let's go out and
Yeah.
make an impact.
It's interesting. That story made me think about something. I used to run a couple of labs, computer labs for the YMCA, and I helped run the teen program. And I was kind of coming off corporate detox, so to speak. So I was
Yeah.
taking on these new roles, and they were in very urban areas. And I remember at one point I was in a meeting, and there was some young people that were complaining about an older woman that was rocking babies in a nursery, like talking about how, they didn't have, she wasn't working as hard as they were, and they were worried about her. And I was thinking, if you only worried about yourself and what you're doing and how you're doing it, it would make the world a much better place. And that's the problem, is that people always worry about everybody else, and they should really hone in on themselves, right?
Exactly. Well, we have to develop ourselves first. And I'm thinking maybe they thought that about that woman, but what was she giving that baby?
Right.
You
That's the
know,
thing.
right. That baby at that time needed care and
Yeah.
love and protection. Did not they not need that when they were
Yeah.
young?
I know.
But seeing it going back to the what's in your hand, we're all given something different. We
Yeah.
all have something remarkable about our own life that is unique to us,
Yeah.
that only we have, the stories that only we have to present to the world. And so stop looking at everybody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
Focus on what your remarkable thing is and lead with that.
Absolutely.
Don't
Absolutely.
worry about the woman in
I
the rock.
know. I
She's doing
know.
what
That's
she
the
needs
thing.
to
It just blew
do.
my mind. And that was like,
Yeah.
20, 30 years ago. And I still remember that. I was like, it was ridiculous. But I think it's kind of a metaphor for just life in general. I think everybody gets wrapped up in what everybody else is doing. We don't understand why they do it. But if we would just hone in on our own world and what we're doing, it's kind of like the person that complains to someone about not having enough time to do work. It's like, what are you doing right now? Right? So this time that you're spending talking about it, you could literally be getting that done.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I call that I use a clarity needle example because we're on two ends of the spectrum. We have the I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know why I'm here. And so I'm just going to complain about everything around me.
Uh-huh.
And then we have this needle, the clarity needle. And the more that we work on our personal growth, the more that we work on our leadership skills, we start moving that needle over to a place of certainty
Yeah.
over to a place of maturity at any age. And
Yeah.
when we become certain and when we become convicted, then we can move forward with purpose in our life. And we don't really care what
Yeah.
is going on,
Uh-huh.
about all those darts coming at us because we know what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. You're obviously highly driven and successful in your career. Who has been that bedrock, that inspiration, that heroic force that has allowed you to evolve into who you are today?
Mm. You know, I can go no other place than my husband. My husband Todd. He's we're both very, very different. I'm a disc behavioral consultant, so I'm a DI, so I'm really fast and very driven, more aggressive.
Yeah.
And he's just the slow, steady Eddie, and we had a service industry business. He got up every morning at 4 a.m., took care of the customers every single day, even when he had the flu. And he's my biggest fan. I
Yeah.
mean, I could not do what I do without his personality style behind me. So I always think of him as my hero. I need his balance.
Yeah. So let me ask
Yeah.
you this. If you can meet one person alive on the planet right now that's powerful, inspirational, motivating, that might help you on your journey, you could hang out with them, ask some questions. Who would that person be?
You know, I love transformation stories.
Yeah.
I would love to go back and see somebody when they started. See a Jim Rohn when he was
Yeah.
25 and interviewed whoever the person was that he was meeting with. And see his journey and talk to him about that, really what it was like. Or see John Maxwell is my mentor. So seeing his first speech, because now I see him speak and he's spoken 14,000 times. I want to be
Yeah.
a speaker like Maxwell, but what was he like when he
Yeah.
first got started? Then I could go, oh, okay, all I got to do is just take one step at a time. So I would just like to have coffee with some of these thought leaders when they were at their very bottom, at the impetus, at their greatest moment, right? When
Yeah.
they rose up and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So it's not a single person, but I love seeing people at their very beginning and what they did to get started.
I've thought about that too. I love that arc before everything gets powerful. Like, for instance, in that movie about Michael Jordan signing the deal with Phil Knight, Nike, all of them in that room were totally young, fledgling, unfettered humans that were
Yeah.
just trying to push a deal. And who would have known? Because there's a lot of times where I'll look down at one of those shoes and I'll think, "Wow, this whole thing could have gone to Converse. This whole thing could have gone another way." So yeah, and it's just kind of that part in like a suspenseful film where everything's kind of like, they're all innocent and just la-di-da before it happens. It's that part of the career. Because I've always heard the story that Steven Spielberg got his start by literally going on the Universal lot and he put up a nameplate and acted like he worked there. And finally, I
Oh,
think
that's
he went
great.
to a meeting and they were like, "What are you doing?" He was like, "I wanted the job so bad. No one recognized me." And there he is. That's who he is. So the beginnings
Yeah.
are pretty cool.
Yeah, that kind of intense intentionality.
Yeah.
You're just so driven that you burn the bridge or the boats, however you
Uh-huh.
want to word it, and you are 100% going forward. Nothing's
Yeah.
going to stop you. To see that at its impetus would be
Oh yeah.
really cool.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. How do you balance everything out? How do you balance this life of business and it's heavy to coach and help people. You have to jump into their worlds and that can be heavy stuff. But you have a soul, you have a life that you need to nurture. What is the motivator every day for you to wake up and to do all of that well?
Yeah, there's probably like three or four answers to that question, but that's why I call myself a business life coach because it's not all about business and it's not all about life. I can work with an executive who's done very, very well in her career, but maybe her relationship with her spouse has fallen apart, or maybe her health is in decline, right? So it's about being able to run your business and enjoy it and live your life and enjoy your life. So how do we do that? Number one, I have a beautiful morning routine. I wake up at 4 a.m. I read, I write, and it's a non-negotiable. No matter where we travel, and we travel a lot, I always wake up that way. And so does my husband. Always go for a run or a hike or something in the morning that gets my creative juices flowing and allows that balance in my life. And I would say the other component of that is that when you are leading and coaching and doing these things, you're pouring a lot of yourself into other people. So who do you have as your inner circle? Who do you have to bounce ideas off of? So making sure that you have a mastermind group, like-minded women who are leaders around you to support you that can pour into you as well. And
Yeah.
coaches. If a
Yeah.
coach doesn't have a coach, then they don't believe in what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. If you could walk into a room right now with all of the people that have known you as a teacher in your real estate life, in your coaching life, everybody that knows you in a professional sense, and you walk up to a podium and you could tell them one fun thing about you, one fun story that they would have no idea about, that might give them kind of a portal into who you really are. What story would you tell them?
Well, I'm going to get really real with you. And I do
Okay.
share this story when I speak, but a few years ago, uh, I don't know if I got or whatever, I found out I had an autoimmune disorder.
Yeah.
And in that autoimmune disorder, I lost all my hair. So about a week into that, after learning how to live with a wig and all that, my husband takes me out onto the dance floor at a charity event and he goes to give me a twirl. And we were the only people on the dance floor, right? And this new wig of mine went to the right and I went to the left. 100, 200 people in the room, and there we are. So what I love to tell that story because I'm a real person.
Yeah.
You're a real person. And we call it in my coaching program, we call it the wig on the dance floor moment. We all have one. We
Yeah.
all have a humiliating moment. We all
Yeah.
have a failure, a financial devastation, something in our life, and we can either hide or we can go, you know what? I'm going to share that. I'm going to
Yeah.
share that so that other people can have healing in their life and know that they're humans too. And
Yeah.
it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. I enjoy sharing that story. I think you can only share things that you're healed from, and it took me a few days to heal
Oh,
heal
I'm
from that
sure.
one. Now
Yeah.
we can laugh about it, but it was a hard moment.
Yeah. So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into that young freshman in college version of you that got that report card with the U, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've led, the wisdom you've gained. What advice would you give that young version of you?
I would give I've always been very driven, and I would say stop and pause.
Yeah.
Stop and enjoy. Yes, it's so important to go after your goals, go after your dreams, go, 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 go. But it's also equally important, and I do this now every 90 days. We take time off to reflect, reset, and renew. We just do that as part of our marriage relationship. And just take that time.
Yeah.
You have to have that healthy balance in your life because it's not all about the go, go, go or the success. It's about building significance in
Yeah.
your life. That's what you're really going to remember.
Yeah. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
The best advice I ever been given,
Yeah.
we don't grow in a day.
Yeah.
We grow daily. We
Yeah.
grow daily. We take steps every single day. And I'm fast forward thinking, so I like to think, 2, 3, 5 years in advance. But just take a step today.
Yeah.
Just grow and learn today. Seek opportunities today. Look for people that you can talk to, that you can serve, that you can help today. Don't think that you are just going to grow into this instant success today. Just one step at a time.
Yeah, for sure. So, of everything that you've done and evolved into, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
My why statement is that I strive to create choices and opportunities for myself, our family, and for others. So in a way that's like a thread that runs throughout our entire life. And I'm proud of that because it's allowed me to have intentionality with our family, with raising our kids. I always want them to have choices and opportunities. It's allowed us to have intentionality with our health. We're always, out biking and just enjoying the mountains and all that. So I think it's my why statement. I'm glad that I really honed in on that
Yeah.
early on and been purposeful
Yeah.
about that.
So, in all of the travels that you've been on in your life, everywhere that you've been on this planet, what was one of the most unexpectedly magical places that you've traveled to?
Oh, without a doubt, we like to hike the 14ers in Colorado.
Okay.
So being able to be on the top of a 14,000 foot peak is just it's like you can touch the sky. And then
Yeah.
wherever you look is just the Rocky Mountains rolling out in front of you. And I live for that. I just
Yeah.
love it. We go out there about 4 times a year and we just love doing the 14ers. It's addicting.
Yeah, we actually went to Estes Park in September and went
Okay.
up. And I think we were 12. It was right on that line. Like the day we did it, it was really nice out. And then the next day, they were closing everything off. It was right on that line of
Yeah.
winter. But yeah, it is amazing when you get up there and just the air and just I look at the vegetation and all the little animals and it's like just how evolution has worked for all of that to work. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and to know that very few people are able to go out there and see it, especially when you've hiked to the top of the mountain and you want to bring everybody
I
up with you.
know.
So you need to see this, you need to experience it because
Yeah.
it's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, everyone that you work with, everyone that is a client, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I love the question, who am I? Because it took me a long time to figure it out and
Yeah,
really into the 50s. And there's an ancient book that I read, and there's one line in the book that says, "But you are like an olive tree flourishing in the house of God." And when I picture who I am, I like to picture myself as an olive tree
yeah,
because an olive tree, and that's who I want to be right now, but it's also who I want to become as well.
yeah,
It's both.
yeah,
It's being planted in a big field, not in a pot, not in a small place, being able to push down those roots and know that the more that I grow, the more that I've watered and the more that I learn, the more that my branches will grow, the more
yeah,
fruit I'm going to produce, the more I'll be able to give out to heal others, the more shade I can provide to others. It's just this beautiful picture. I'm a very vision-oriented person.
yeah,
And I love that. I love the word flourishing. It means to bloom up suddenly and prosper. And I feel like that's what midlife is all about. These are our wisdom years. It's
yeah.
time to rise up and to give back.
Yeah, for sure. I remember going to Tuscany. I was young, in my early 20s, and seeing my first real grove of olive trees. And they are really majestic. Like I had no idea how dexterous and sturdy they are. And it was awesome for
Yeah,
sure.
just very elegant and yeah, just strong, right?
Yeah,
Not an oak tree.
yes.
I think an olive tree is more feminine. I don't
Right,
know.
right, right, right. Yeah, no, I totally get it. So, hey, if anyone wants to reach out, they want to hire you, they have any questions, any of the good business in your world, where's the best place to go?
You can go to Lead My Life.
Okay.
Lead My Life and follow me on Instagram. I'm Cindee Williams and 2 E's on Cindee.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Cindee, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your story. Best of luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I
Yes,
enjoyed it.
absolutely. Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.